Mike immediately goes, no negative thoughts. Right? So that was one, what that was to me was my coach believing in what I had said for so long. And I was able to shake it off, right? Because if you can't practice what you preach, who are you as a man?
You are now tuning in to the Relentless Project. Real people, real stories, real life.
How many podcasts you have under your belt now? Not counting your own.
I'm not counting my own, probably like 15, 20, maybe more. I don't know. I've done a lot, like interviews and stuff.
Well, I would assume so. You know, the last time we talked, you were 0-0 as a pro.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I was coming off of grappling Gavin, right? I think it was like the week after that. So, yeah, last time we talked, I was 0-0 as a pro.
Yeah, and then I went to your fight, and then shit just kind of went from there. For those of you who don't know, I'd be very surprised, but this is another one with Lucas Siebert. He was here, episode 10, OG, started the podcast, had no reason to be talking to me, but he decided to anyway. And that was November 5th of 23.
Wow.
Almost 2 years.
Jeez, that's crazy. It's crazy to think that was that like long ago, but it doesn't feel like that long ago.
It doesn't feel that at all. You know, we did that at the gym, which is no longer RIP, but we just got another location, so yeah, that makes it cool. How do you like that? I want to know the honest truth. What is your opinion of the new location?
The new location, you know, it's developing. It's gonna become, like, in my opinion, it's gonna be a great gym. It's just like, you know, it's in the works right now, just like anything, right? Your podcast on episode 10 wasn't what it is now.
That's fair.
The new gym, it's like we're building. We're gonna add a lot of stuff. There's a lot of amenities. I really like the locker rooms being downstairs. Kind of keeps that traffic away. I like the one mat. I think it unifies the gym a little bit more than when it was striking on one side and grappling on the other. I think there's a little bit more of a collaborative.
Yeah, it created this like stigma of like strikers
it got clicky.
And grapplers. Now you kind of.
So I like that, and you know, I'm starting to get more involved in the gym, the business side of it. And obviously, like, you know, owning a gym in the Strip is a lot better than renting a gym in the Strip.
For sure.
So, you know, definitely.
The only thing that gets me, man, is the fucking parking. I hate looking for parking, bro. Like, there'll be days I'm like, I'm going to skip. I'm just going to skip. And then a parking opens up, and I was like, that was real stupid to think about.
Yeah, that I do get. We'll I'm sure figure out a better parking. I think the longer that gym's there, the more, you know, amenities like parking and stuff like that are gonna come. Your boy works there, so I get free parking, so I don't have to worry about it.
I gotta find a way to swoon Mr. Stout Warren to get in there, because I hate looking for parking. But I appreciate you for jumping back on, man. There's been a lot of movement in your career. 5-0 as a pro. You just came off an LFA card. You just grappled. And is it my understanding that you're a purple belt now?
I am a purple belt, yeah. Yeah, I placed at Blue Belt Worlds in December last year. So Mike gave me my purple belt right after that.
That's dope. What's that purple belt mean to you?
The purple belt means a lot, man. I kind of like separate my Jiu Jitsu journey and my MMA journey. So like that purple belt was earned. Warren, you know, was watching me have some success against some higher belts at the gym and wanted to give me my purple belt like really early on, and I thought it was crazy, right? And I think after he watched a little bit more of me training, he was like, all right, maybe not, right? But that really made me want to deep dive into jiu-jitsu. Like after I found that out, that would have been around the time my pro debuted. I immediately signed up for like a jiu-jitsu tournament, a local jiu-jitsu tournament. Didn't tell anybody. I entered at both gi and no gi at blue belt, just to challenge myself, right? Because I really like the martial arts kind of like honorary part of it, right? As much as nowadays it's about getting clicks and getting famous and whatever. It's like, all right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to not tell anybody, I'm going to do this tournament in gi that I barely train and no gi and see how I do. And when I won that at local tournament, I felt a lot better about, being a blue belt and then competing at Worlds, obviously getting my fights under my belt. But I like I said, I separate those. Competed at Worlds, had a pretty good run at Worlds. I won probably 6 matches, and then in the semifinals, I ran into a kid who had a really good knee shield, and I just couldn't pass his guard and lost an advantage point. So I got third, fourth. It's like they don't.
Which is impressive, And it's interesting how you say you separate them, because you being a fighter, you would think all that is encompassed, but you've had a lot of success with striking, and then as a wrestler, that's obviously your bread and butter. But like jiu-jitsu is it's like a separate thing, but it also coincides with what you do, and I didn't even know you were just a blue belt. I'm a career blue belt. I've been a blue belt for a while, so I'm in a rut, I would say, but you were able to get past that, which is interesting to me. So are you going to incorporate more jiu-jitsu into your fighting, or are you just going to keep smacking people with your...
When I fight, it's whatever it takes to win the fight, right? So like if I've fight somebody that really lacks in the jiu-jitsu department, you might see more jiu-jitsu. But, I think I have the knowledge of where it's best to be in a fight. And some of the jiu-jitsu stuff isn't applicable in fighting. Some of it is super, like it transitions really well. And then some of it's not, right? Fighting, like I said, I kind of view them as like separate businesses in a way. Right, like I got my MMA business and my jiu-jitsu or my grappling business, right? And they have a little bit of overlap, but like they're separate entities, if that makes sense.
Yeah, actually it does. And it's not until having this conversation where I was like, I would have never thought of it that way, but I can see that.
Yeah.
And so the news is you have a little, not a little, I don't mean to demean it because it's very exciting, but you have a title fight coming up. What is that about?
Yeah, man. Gonna be fighting for the 247 bantamweight title in November 8th. It's gonna be at their new venue, which I'm super excited to perform at their new venue.
Oh, you haven't yet? That is.
I haven't fought there.
Yeah.
No, I fought at the trampoline park last October. That was right next to it. But no, I have not fought at the new venue. I've commentated a couple times. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm super excited for it. And for me, it meant more than. One, I was booked for an LFA fight in August, right? And I had an injury, had to pull out of that, and I could have easily just jumped back on LFA. They're actually coming back to New York where I fought last time in a couple of weeks. But it means a lot to me to do one more in Pittsburgh and to win that title. That's kind of been mine. In my opinion, it's funny because I tell people that I'm fighting for the title. They're like, you don't already have it? I'm like, no, I won the amateur title. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're gonna be the next 247 dual champ. Actually,
First.
is there? Yeah, I would say, is there anyone who has the amateur and
pro? No. I don't believe so, but don't believe. I'm 99% sure that nobody's won the amateur and pro title for 247, and Stout has never had a pro champion.
Oh, so there's a lot on the line on November 8th.
Yeah, so that'll be nice, man. It's a cool, little feather in my cap. It means a lot to me. Obviously, being from Ohio and kind of moving to Pittsburgh and being the Pittsburgh guy now. And to be the Pittsburgh guy, you got to have a belt in Pittsburgh.
You got to be the Pittsburgh champion.
Yeah,
right?
you got to be the Pittsburgh champion. And
so that what does the belt mean to you, right? Like the belt has a meaning differently to everyone.
The physical belt.
The physical belt. That is
it means
Pittsburgh's crown.
I probably won't even do anything with it. I will probably give it to my dad. I actually got to get the old 247 belt back from my dad because I'm going to use it for like promo and stuff. Cause but like the actual medals, the things that like, I'm gonna throw it on D&D real quick. The actual like accolades and stuff like that, the physical things, I don't care about,
Not even a little bit.
I think I try to keep them away from me. I think it like breeds complacency when you see a lot of your success. At least for me, like I kind of want to have that like hunger. Now that being said, I'm like, I just moved to an apartment. I got like a nice little spot. I'm going to set up like, I got a mic, stuff like that. I might throw some of that stuff behind me. But I just, the tangible parts of it, I just don't care about. Right.
I've never had a belt or anything like that. So I think it'd be cool. I'd probably wear it for a couple of days.
Yeah. When you have it, you're like, wow, this is cool for like 30 seconds. And then you're like, it is what it is.
Let's talk about leading up to that, right? Because that's 2 years of stuff we haven't talked about. I'm sure you've talked about it. He's been on a lot of podcasts. He's got one of his own. We'll get into that. But like people know you. People have seen your episode here, and then they're like, probably like, hey, where'd he go? What happened? But he's been very active. So 5-0 professional fights. How did LFA come about? You're having success here in Pittsburgh. You have a promotion that's standing behind you. The gym is pushing you, and you're doing great. How did that opportunity come?
My manager. So after my third fight, I signed with a really like prestigious management company called MAG Agency. They're pretty well known for getting former college wrestlers. And my agent, Pete Lipari, is like one of the best dudes there is. He actually texts me as I'm walking in here, texts me a couple times a week, just checking in. So I fought Cam Jordan. So that got me to 4-0. And then immediately he's like, you should be on UFC Fight Pass. Like you need to be on the biggest stages. And I was like, I agree. Right?
Yeah, that's easy.
So I'm kind of in, I knew I wanted to get one outside of Pittsburgh, 1 or 2 outside of Pittsburgh, because I know, the traveling and cutting weight and a lot of things that come with that. So I wanted to get that experience. And then Pete hit me up about, actually I grappled Lucas Bird first. So that match took place 4 weeks before my LFA fight. So they got me that grappling match on UFC Fight Pass for Fury Grappling, which is kind of like under CFFC out in Atlantic City. Okay. So I grappled him. He was a returning national champion. I won that match, and then immediately dove into the LFA fight. And I was going against another 4-0 guy with the same record, and went out and did my thing. Got a first round finish. So within
by punches. That was on my birthday.
Elbow. Yeah, I elbowed him. He was coming off the cage. I kind of pulled his arm across his belly, so he had no option but to turn into me to like alleviate the pressure of it, right? Or he was gonna give up his back. So when he turned into me, placed an elbow like right on the ear, he fell down. A couple pitter patters. Ref pulled me off, and within a month, I had beat a Division I national champion in grappling and beat an undefeated prospect in LFA both on UFC Fight Pass.
So you grappled. Were you in prep when you grappled?
Was I? What?
Were you like in fight prep?
Yeah. So actually, another part of the management, they flew me out to Killcliff FC in Florida, like right before that. So I did the last part of my camp for Lucas Bird, the grappling match in Florida. And then I immediately had to cut a little bit of weight, and then was in Atlantic City within 5 days of getting back from Florida.
What was the hardest part? I can only imagine, but what was the hardest part of like going back to back? You see a lot of fighters, usually a couple months in between fights for preparation, downtime, all that. Like you went from a tough grappling match to almost like another debut. I see it as like, because you're fighting outside. It's a different location, different crowd. You know, you're in Pittsburgh. You have a lot of support here. Now you're in enemy territory, if you will. So what was the hardest part of that transition from that grappling to the LFA fight?
Unfortunately, I would say the hardest part was the weight, because I kind of got up, you know, I had to cut weight for the grappling match a little bit, right? It was at 140. My fight weight's 35. I don't naturally weigh 140. I'm not going to tell you how much I weigh, but I don't naturally weigh 140, right? So I cut weight for that, and then my body shot back up. So, you know, I'm way heavier than I should be, having just been 140 pounds. And I'm like, oh, I got to make weight for this fight in 4 weeks, right? But you can't really stay dehydrated. So that was tough. I actually did end up missing weight by a pound for my LFA fight. And it was a big learning lesson, kind of made me realize I need to keep my weight lower. One of the biggest, you know, things for the UFC is you got to make weight, right? So I would say that was like one of the better learning lessons when it came to the fight game. Is like, all right, this is a reality check. You need to keep that weight lower. And already working with a nutritionist now for this fight. You know, doing stuff that I haven't done before, and you know, I'm expecting it to pay off.
The weight cutting, or weight management rather, is often overlooked in fighting.
Yeah.
You know, you see a lot of amateurs, especially. I feel like they kind of skip past the amateurs and want to go straight pro, because that's the goal, right? That you want to start getting movement, but they don't dial in that weight management, and then they're missing weights, you know, shit like that. One of the guys at UFC just got cut. What was his name? You follow the fight game more than
Brian Battle just got cut from
just got cut. Yeah. And you know, you get two sides of the token, right? It's like, oh, it's only a pound, it's only 2 pounds. And then you have you're a professional, you're getting paid to do this, and you miss weight. Like, what's your opinion on that? Obviously, you're a fighter, so I'm sure I know where you're gonna lean, but for people who may not understand the difference of being 1 pound, 2 pounds over, like, how critical is it to have that weight management dialed in, and why?
You know, I think out of camp, it's based on your lifestyle, right? So what are you doing? Are you partying? Are you drinking? Are you doing this and that, right? That's how high you get, right? That's your ceiling. And then once you get to, you know, a couple weeks out from the fight, it actually comes down to like science, sodium levels, water intake, how much you weigh, how much you sweat during practice, like very, very incremental things that if they aren't done correctly, you could end up missing weight on that day, or miscalculate it and, like, you know, just not do what you were supposed to do, have a bad weight cut where, hey, I made weight, but I feel like shit. So it's super important. And, you know, I wish there was a way to kind of eliminate it from the sport a little bit more, right, altogether, because I do think it kind of, you know, there's a lot of downsides of it, you know, but I also think, you know, it really just comes down to discipline and living the right lifestyle. And, you know, I think as far as, you know, you talk about Brian Battle being cut, it was like his third weight miss, right? So I think, you know, there's a little bit of an understanding, because, you know, people are in the game. They know that there's a science behind it. It's like, hey, you might have just, you know, miscalculated. For me, like I said, I hadn't traveled for a fight, so that played a big part of it, right? That was the first time I had traveled really far for a fight. So, you know, I think you get like one pass, maybe two, but really just one, and then you should be making weight. It's your job, right? It's really what you get. Your show and win money. Your show money is, hey, I make weight and I walk to the cage, right? That's half your check, and then you get paid for winning.
No, that's a good point too, because how many fights did it take to get you there, right? Like,
yeah,
you're at that level. How many fights did it take to get you there? You've had to go through amateurs. You've had to go pro. You've had to fight locally, I'm sure. Then you probably take on shows in the area near you, and then you get called up to the big show, and then you're still missing weight. So it almost makes you wonder, like, do you even care? Are you disciplined? Like, why are you doing this if you're not even doing the bare minimum of showing up and making weight? That's where I understand that.
Yeah.
But then it goes to like the 1 pound, and people, you know, social media. You love social media. It's like, oh, he was scared. He didn't take it for 1 pound. And you get the people who are like, well, it's a professional thing. So it's like, I never know. Like, I can understand both sides.
Yeah, I don't think it's black and white. Like, I think there's a little bit of, what had happened, right? If somebody misses weight and, God forbid their mom died the day before or the week before, it's like, there's a little bit human side of it, right? But I think, it kind of just depends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's
A lot of gray area.
You said you'd like to eliminate it from the sport. Let's talk hypothetically, right? Because I envision like having a promotion where you have X amount of people sign up, and on weigh-in day, that determines who you fight. So it's hard for promotion, hard for like matchups, but like the weight you come in at is the weight you fight at, which is probably unrealistic and undoable. But like, what are some ideas you have? I
don't know if it's ever gonna be possible, because you're trying to match things up. For example, like me, the grappling match I did this weekend, we didn't weigh in, right? But we grappled at 155 and we both fight at 135. So it was like, hey, if you guys aren't making 155, then like you're probably fat, right? So like, I don't really care. Right now, when you throw punches and kicks into that, that's a little bit bigger of a difference, right? So I don't know if there's a right answer to it. I think at the end of the day, you kind of have to get on a scale, and people, you kind of just have to accept that, it's going to happen, and it just sucks.
It's part of the game.
It is part of the game.
One thing you talked about 2 years ago, I was going to throw that time in because I can't believe it's been that long, but you like grew up having almost stage fright, right?
Mm-hmm.
Performance anxiety. But like when I see you out there, dude, you're giant, you're tall, chest out, you're always looking confident, stoic. How has that changed? How have you kind of grown in not the fight game, but your approach to it, your mindset to it coming out? Do you come out more confident, or is it just something that you've learned to manage? Like, how does that work, and how does that look with that 2-year time span? I haven't talked to you in a while.
I think at the point you talked to me, it was a lot of just like, I was super confident, but also like I was just straight up better than a lot of the people, right? Like, I was in amateurs, right? And, I wrestled Division I, kind of competed my whole life. And when you go pro, the skill levels aren't that drastically different, right? But the little intangible things, like we talk about weight cutting or how you live in your life, matter. I think one of the things that matters most in this sport is your confidence level. I think you see a lot of people that have success in this sport from the jump have a lot of confidence, right? And I think that kind of, fighting is split second thoughts in your head in reactionary things. And if I'm a little bit slow in a reaction because I don't know, if I hit hard enough, or if, this guy hits really hard, or you kind of having those thoughts in your head, those kind of negative thoughts, the less those are there, the faster I'm going to get a punch out or a takedown in, or transition to a back take or whatever. Right. So I think in the sport of mixed martial arts or martial arts in general, I think a lot of it relies on your confidence and your ability to kind of drown out the outside thing and focus. I think focusing for the amount of time you're in a cage is something a lot of people lack. I think a lot of people those negative thoughts start to kind of creep into their head, and that focus kind of goes away, and you need to be completely dialed in on your job for the 15 minutes you're in that cage.
And do you have anything you do or anything that you did do to kind of help you with that if and when that happens? Because there's a lot of upcoming fighters, right? And, a lot of them are skilled. Some of them are just starting out and they're finding their way. But I feel like listening to someone with the experience that you have, like, may help them kind of develop their game. Do you have any advice for people who are starting off and they're kind of battling with that? I feel nervous. Because I remember my first time walking out, I wanted to throw up. Like, that's how like much it got me.
Well, so two things. One, I want to like kind of get this out there is like when I'm done with my career, I really find I want to figure out a way to give back to fighters, wrestling, and stuff like that, where we can kind of deal with those nerves and have a systematic approach for it. And, you know, whether that be starting my own business or whatever, right? I had a degree in sports psychology, so I think that plays a lot into that. But with your original question, I think kind of having a systematic approach, right? You know, if I have a negative thought, it's not drown that negative thought out or ignore that negative thought, right? Because I think of it as like a cancer, right? If I ignore, you know, it's going to build upon itself, right? And it's just going to turn into more and more negative. And then, you know, if I had a negative thought in the third round, I never addressed it, or in the first round, and I never addressed it in the third round, it's going to be a lot, right? So it's matching that negative thought with a positive thought, right? And kind of having this like little bit of like, I can't think of the word, but maybe like narcissistic approach to it, especially when you're in that 15 minutes, like, oh man, this guy's tough. This guy's, you know, really got a good double leg. It's like, all right, well, we can address that, right? I just need to shoot first, right? I need to eliminate this, right? And having like a little bit of a more like, you know, when you're competing, like I said, you need to be confident and just being able to address it in the moment and immediately turn it into a positive thought, right? Oh, I look across the cage. This is a better example. I look across the cage. I see the dude looks tough. He looks scary. He's muscular, right? I see he looks tough. He's scary. He's muscular. All right, that can mean he's going to beat the crap out of me, right? That's the natural human response. I'm like, oh, he's scary. Or I can be like, all right, he's muscular. He's going to tire out faster, right?
That's a fact.
I know that the glycogen in his muscle, he's not going to be able to keep it around for the third round, right? So I need to change my approach a little bit here, right? Because everything, especially in martial arts, has a little bit of there's a hole in everything, right? You're fighting a tall guy, easier to get to his legs, right? You're fighting a short guy, use your length, right? So I think, you know, just having something that you can kind of piggyback and turn into a positive thought, no matter what negative thought comes, is the small, like short version of what I want to do.
No, it makes sense. It's like reframing, right? And we talk about that in everything we do, right? Like it's kind of like creating contingency plans. I got to go into this door, right? I got to make entry. Well, what if there's a couch there? We're going to make entry on this door. Okay, what if someone's in that room? Okay, this is how we approach, kind of creating that in your head already. So if and when that happens during the fight, like he looks like he hits hard. If he hits me hard and I start to daze, what are my contingency plans? All right, back off, or maybe grapple him, maybe shoot. So you're saying like you start to have that negative thought, reworking it into almost like a solution in your head. So when you're in there, that's happened sometime in your head. Like it's happened before. It feels like you've been there.
Yeah, and I think another thing is when you've never experienced it, right? So let's say you walk through that door and boom, flashbang, right? And you're like, oh, I've never had that happen, right? Because there's gonna be things that you've never experienced in a cage, right? It's how you react in those moments. I remember my pro debut, I got absolutely smacked with the overhand right on my eye. I got hit so hard that I was backing up to the cage. The cameraman was right behind me, right? And I went to cross block for a kick. I thought he was going to spin. And he just sent an overhand right and hit me right here. I legitimately thought the cameraman dropped his fucking camera on my head. Like that was the thought that I was like, I didn't know what I got hit with. And I was like, right? And I think those little things in a fight make fighters. Right? How you react in those moments that you've never experienced also make fighters, right? So you can have all the plans in the world. Mike Tyson, super famous quote, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Everybody's got a plan until somebody inverts on a heel hook and you don't know how to respond. You are too late, right? Everybody's got a plan till, you know, you get cut in a fight, right? Things that you haven't experienced in practice and how you deal with them in the moment are also super important.
Yeah, I guess that's where practice comes in. So you can try to go through as many reps of unknowns as possible.
Yeah.
Because the last place I want to figure something out is when I'm locked in a cage with some dude who's trying to take my hat off. Like I feel like that's the worst place to be.
Yeah, ideally not.
Yeah. What are some of the, is there any lessons you've learned, like surprising lessons in overcoming self-doubt in this, 5-0 span that you've gone?
So kind of like I said, you're never prepared for injuries, right? So, and especially in a fight. So my second pro fight, I fought up a weight class, and I went into it. It was really cool. I walked out with all the kids and stuff like that. Wearing a shirt with all their signatures on it. And like, that was a special moment to me. It was during the day card when 247 did two in a day. That was the main event of the first card. Get into the fight and I throw an elbow. Kind of like we're coming out hot, right? And we get in this little exchange. I throw an elbow. My fist is closed, not open, right? Little intangible detail. My entire arm goes numb. Entire arm, right? Like you've hit your funny bone before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But imagine like hitting your funny bone and you just like smack a desk on accident. Mine was me slamming my arm into somebody's head. So my entire arm was numb for the entire first round. It was stuck like this. Like boom. In wrestling, you get hurt, you call injury time, you're good, you can recover, right? I literally I'm looking at the ref, I'm like, bro, what the fuck? My arm doesn't work. But I'm like, oh, I can't do anything, right? So that happens. We get another wrestling exchange, boom. My LCL blows on my left knee, and I knew what happened because it had happened to me before, right? He's like in on a shot, and pop my LCL. At some point, also in that first round, I rolled my ankle, right? So I get to the stool. I get to the stool with, 2 limbs, and I'm like, Mike, bro, I can't feel my arm. Like, can you like shake it out or whatever? And then I'm starting to feel it back. I'm starting to be able to do this with my hand. It's not stuck like this anymore, and just Mike immediately goes, no negative thoughts, right? So that was one, what that was to me was my coach believing in what I had said for so long, right? And I was able to shake it off, right? Because if you can't practice what you preach, who are you as a man, right? So I remember being in that fight and just being like, you're right. Right. And then went out there, and when you're fighting, you don't really feel these things, but it's when you get to the stool and that adrenaline kind of cools down for a second. You're like, dog, my legs, I popped my LCL. Right. And immediately after that fight, I fought a kid that was super tough, up a weight class. And after that fight, I was like, I'm made for this, because I know most people wouldn't have been able to do that. Right. Most people don't have an arm and pop their LCL and they're sitting on this stool, may not call it quits on the stool, but would find a way out of that fight, find a way to lose that fight, in terms of whether it's actually going out and just kind of throwing it, or whether it's like dealing with those negative thoughts and just letting them compile and losing. But I was able to tough through it and win the fight 30-27. Like I won every round.
With 2 limbs, cross limbs at that.
Yeah. My arm came back in the second.
That's gotta be a crazy feeling, right? Like I've had that, something similar, like in training. Like that's when I tore my meniscus.
Yeah.
That didn't feel good, and I'm like trying to finish the round. I'm like, all right, but what I did, because it's training, I'm like, all right, you got me, and I couldn't walk. I'm like, what the fuck? But like in a fight, you can't just be like, oh, okay, because that's everything. Right?
Yeah, you can't call injury time, bro. There's none. It was crazy. It was but that's something that like we talk about, those little things that make or break your career, and that little bit of luck, right? I think that's one thing people don't like factor in the fighting. It's like there's a little bit of luck in it, right? If he would have pushed my LCL, it was like a weird exchange, right? If he would have continued to kind of drive in a little bit more, boom, the PCL blows, boom, the ACL blows. I ain't winning a fight with no ligaments in my leg, right? It's a little bit of
use Jiu Jitsu after that.
It's a little bit of luck.
Lucas Siebert pulls guard. There is that luck thing. I like to think of it as just being prepared for the opportunity, and not that that's an opportunity, but like the more reps you do, the more training you do, the more experience you have in fights and in cages, you whether intentional or not, you kind of position yourself in ways, and you're put in these places where you're able to kind of deal with things a little better. There is luck in fighting. Like, what is it, 8 pounds? 8 pounds to the jaw and you're knocked out. Doesn't matter what size you are, 8 pounds of force or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you hit someone clean at the right spot, like I always think of my buddy Devin. He was 4-0, 4 knockouts, and he threw, and he turned his head, and the dude got him in a place, and he's in a corner bobbing and weaving, but he can't lift his arms up. And I talked to him after. He's like, I don't know what the fuck. I could not, I could see everything was fine. I just couldn't lift my hands. So they called the fight. And that's a fucking tough place to be when fighting, you just can't fight.
That's fighting. It really is. And it's such split second things. Like we talked about that punch in my debut. That punch landed on my eye. If it landed a couple inches down, your boy got slept, right? We're having a different conversation. So I think, it really is like a little bit of luck, obviously skill. The more things you do correct, the harder you train. But sometimes it's, you zig when you should have zagged. And
zig when you should have zagged. Should name it that. Zig when you should zag. So you're in the fight game. You decided to start a podcast. What is that about? What was the motivation behind the Fighters podcast? Obviously fighting, but there's a lot of fighters out there. Not all of them have podcasts. You decided to start one. What's that about?
So Justin Jones, who's really really cool dude, had his own podcast, a Real Curious Jones podcast, and he had me on in the gym, very similar to what me and you did the first time. And afterwards, we both kind of I feel like we had the idea in our head. It was like, let's just shoot the shit and talk MMA once a week. And from there, it just kind of manifested itself in us doing it more consistently. And we've been pretty consistent with it for a year. And, hopefully we can continue to do it. The podcast game's hard, right? We're struggling right now because our studio's in Bridgeville and I just moved to Turtle Creek. So it's we might have to zoom into these guys, right? Or go live on IG or whatever. But, I think, if we want to figure it out, we will. And it's been really cool. It's been a consistent thing I think both of us have liked. And one of the reasons I wanted to start one is because I wanted to get more used to talking on the mic. I see myself, transitioning into the highest levels of the sport. I see myself, whether it's with Justin or not, eventually having a podcast of my own, getting more people on. And I want to be able to talk more fluently and be able to, do the things that I watch these high level fighters do at a high level right when I get there. Right. And not have to transition into having my first podcast when I have 1 million followers. Right. Because then people are like, oh, this sucks. Right. But
you're perfecting would have been, it as you go.
But I'm going to be 4 years deep in doing podcasts by the time I make it, quote unquote, in the UFC. So it'll be oh, I'm also pretty good on this avenue as well.
I think it's cool. I never was a podcast guy. Shockingly, but
I'm a huge podcast guy. Really? That's all I listen to.
I don't know. I guess I had bad luck, and then I found all the good podcasts, and I'm like, oh, okay. But all the podcasts I would see pop up was just feel like brain rot. Just there was no
rhyme or reason. You use some young kid terms.
Well, I have
that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a young
brain rot's like a kid one.
But it's the most accurate word they use.
Yeah,
everything else,
fire,
I'm where did you
I like it.
where did you get that from? Where did that come from? There's no rhyme or reason.
What, dude, the 6'7" thing?
Don't even get me started. What is that? Is that a song?
It's just like a kid was at a basketball game, camera panned to him, and he just went 6'7" or something like.
Dude, anytime
I went on a deep dive on it. Because I was like, I don't know what's going on. Because I teach a ton of kids classes.
Oh, you got all the lingo.
Yeah, and all these kids are I'm like, what? Are they making fun of me? What's going on? I went to school with a lot of kids that didn't speak English, and every time they'd be like talking, I'd be like, these motherfuckers talking shit about me. I know it.
6'7".
Right? So now I had the same thing with these these kids, they're doing that. I was like, what is happening? So I went home and looked it up, and that's what it was.
So it literally means nothing.
It literally does not have a meaning.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Like brain rot
That's
makes
a good
sense
one.
to me
Brain
because
rot's a good one.
the shit you consume rottens your brain, right? Like it's just not good for you. And that's all the type of podcasts I was saying.
This might be a little off topic, but do you think the next generation's super aware of how bad social media is for you? Because I do. I think some of those kids. I want to hear your opinion because you have a daughter. How old's your daughter?
13.
13. So she's like in the middle of that. Like middle school is the tough. I think like even coming up with the idea of the word brain rot is they're a little bit more aware. My generation, I came from the generation of. I had Facebook come into my life when I was probably like 10, and then Instagram was a thing when I was 13, and then from there it was Snapchat, and we were just kind of getting all these new things, and we didn't know that they were bad for us. I think this next this generation of kids now, the 13-year-old kids, maybe younger, are kind of like aware of the dangers of social media a little bit more.
But are they aware, but are they heeding to it? Because they're all fucking talking about like these viral, what was it? Italian brain rot or was something where like, it's like shark and wearing a pair of shoes and there's like a specific name for it. Yeah. You don't know that one, huh?
No, but I'm not,
Dude,
I'm
so
not
like
tapped in.
Cinderella. It's like stuff like that. And then there's an image for it. And it's an AI image of like a shark with shoes. And I'm like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's just Italian brain rot. I'm like, this is what you guys are searching up? A shark wearing shoes? But like, so they may be aware, but what are they doing with it? Because I feel what kids are lacking now is like belonging and sense of purpose, right? Which for a kid, it sounds different. Like what your sense of purpose and a kid's sense of purpose are different.
Yeah.
But like the kids at Jiu Jitsu have that community. They have that camaraderie, the team. So maybe they're a little different, but I can speak firsthand on a group of kids and the things that bother them. I'm just like, why do you care? You know, like this girl said that I said her shirt was ugly. Did you say it? No. Why does it matter?
Bro.
Yeah. Girls. Why does it matter?
Oh shit.
Like, and I can't connect with these kids because like I grew up and it's like,
you go put them in the
by
mouth
myself. Yeah, like you know, I think that's another thing that should come back is accountability. We'll call it accountability. But yeah, and why did I get into fights I did growing up? I talked a lot of shit. I deserved it. I just want to take a second to shout out a few companies who believed in me. These were one of our first official sponsors, so huge shout out. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Carve Jewelers, established in 1997 on the values of honesty and integrity. Whether you're searching for the perfect piece, need expert repair services, visit Carve Jewelers in Newark's Ironbound District, where your jewelry is always in safe hands. This episode is also brought to you by Continental Jewelers, proudly serving Hudson County, New Jersey since 1964. Whether you're seeking a timeless piece or need expert repairs, they've got you covered. Visit Continental Jewelers, your trusted source for all things jewelry. You can find them on Instagram at Carve Jewelers or online at carvejewelers.com. Lastly, big shout out to Carve Trading. Besides coins, precious metals, and jewelry, if it could be traded and collected, he's probably got it. They can be found on Instagram at carvo.trading. You can find all of our sponsors out online on our sponsor page at therelentlessproject.com.
Yeah. I think we talked about it in the last podcast. Like I grew up, I got in fights a lot, but I wasn't a kid that talked a lot of shit. Like I was just kind of like, I think people messed with me because I was a little bit smaller, white kid, just like kind of easy target. But like I would always be willing to fight. So
I was a problem. I was a problem. Like that. Like to think of my kid doing some shit, half the shit I did, or I'd stroke out.
Yeah, man.
So that man's dead. That kid's dead. Don't go looking for my history and cancel me 10 years later. But
it will.
Dude, it's inevitable. I'm just here until someone doesn't like something I say and then they cancel me.
Find out.
But other podcasts, social media. So what are some of the themes, I guess, for those who don't watch it? Like what do you focus on with the podcast, and how does it tie into you as a fighter? Because you're saying you're trying to do this in cohesion with each other.
For the most part, it's like, current events, like Islam Makhachev's fighting Jack Della Maddalena in a couple of weeks. Would probably talk about that, right? So it's kind of just like any other, like one of those podcasts, but I especially find it cool because it's people right? Like we haven't hit the stratosphere of, making it to like Joe Rogan talking MMA with whatever. It's just like, the Pittsburgh guys you see at the gym. It's mostly, stout people watch it. And, it's just, it's pretty cool, obviously. And me and Justin have grown closer, so we have more topics to talk about. I'm a huge college football fan. I love talking a huge college football fan.
See, I don't follow that at all.
I'll talk college football. It's really just like a place to consistently just talk and, enjoy it.
See, I like that because one, obviously I follow you as a fighter. I think we're friends. So I follow you as a friend. And like when there is a UFC card and I know I follow your podcast, I'm like, he's probably going to talk about it. Like where does someone like Lucas, like you have a specific fight style, you have your own specific experiences. So I'm like, where does he fall in with what's going to happen?
Yeah. And I think
so
that's
cool.
the idea, is like hearing what a fighter, like, everybody's talking about weight cuts, or everybody's talking about Brian Battle getting cut from the UFC. What does a fighter have, like a fighter's opinion on that? Right. So I think that's, the main reason we started it.
And how does, you said it's helping you talk, like how is co-hosting the Fighters podcast change your perspective in like storytelling and just being more comfortable with conversation? Because now you're commentating too.
That's
like,
what I was about to say. I will have people be like, I can't believe this commentator sucks. I'm like, bro, that job's so hard. That job is so difficult, right? Because you have to like talk the whole time. People are like, well, just like don't. And you're like, there's only two of us, and so you have to talk the whole time, right? And the idea that you're not gonna stumble over your words, especially me, dude. I stumble over my words a lot.
Well, you're very well spoken here.
I'm killing this one right now, but we're gonna get into the end of it. It won't be going good. But yeah, man, it's that's another thing, is I wanted to, I want to commentate fights long term. It's kind of funny. When I was a kid, like I was super into sports. Not super into fighting until I was a little bit older, but like I always kind of like wanted to be a commentator, like sports commentator. Like I would love to commentate like a high school football game. And it's that
would be wild.
Yeah, it's cool kind of diving into it now, and I really enjoy it.
You are right. It is hard. I've been asked to commentate, and I think people think because I do the podcast, they're like, oh, yeah, he could. I flat out like, hey, dude, that's not my wheelhouse, right? Like you said, you have to talk the whole time. Well, I stumble on my words all the time, and to sit here and commentate a fight, right? Not only do you have to have the wherewithal to know what's going on, right? You have to know both fighters, essentially, a little bit about both fighters. You have to know about the sport. You have to have, like, I think, like someone like me, I don't fight anymore. I train. So like I'm not in that limelight. So I'm going to have to go above and beyond to make sure I appear knowledgeable and like this dude should be here. And I always fuck things up, right? Like I was talking, I did one and I'm commentating and I say A-Rod instead of Nicky Rod. I'm a huge baseball fan, but I'm like A-Rod. No, not A-Rod. What's his name? And I just forgot.
You have to, as a commentator, one thing I realized is just not grow attached to saying anything. Cause I'll be commentating like a position, right? They get into side control. All right. Ideally here, he's gonna, go knee on belly, transition a mount, get to a high mount, finish the fight. Right. But in that amount of time, while I'm trying to say he's gonna go knee on belly, the dude goes to turtle, and then I'm like, right. So if I'm trying to explain the transition that should happen, or where they're at now, who's to say by the time the words come out of my mouth, the position hasn't changed? So you have to just not be attached to saying anything, or I'll want to reference a fighter or a fight, be like, yeah, this guy reminds me of blank and blank, and then it doesn't fit in that position anymore. So it's like, all right, well, that one.
You almost have to abandon your thought and just.
You have to abandon your thought and like be okay with, it not, because I think that's one thing is like, when humans talk, like a lot of times in the exchange, it's like, I just want to get my thought out. You want to get your thought out. I want to get my thought out. You want to get your thought out. But when it's for entertainment purposes, it's not that. It's I have to talk about what is happening at this time. I have to be unselfish and not talk about what I want to say and talk about what needs to be said.
That makes sense, right? And typically knock on the infamous Joe Rogan holding everyone back, screaming.
Yeah, and then I'm just sitting there pouting because I was like, I had a bar about him inverting into a heel hook and he got knocked out.
Or the knockout happens and you're like, so what I was going to say was. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, everybody would be like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah, like, dude just got knocked out.
What a narcissist. What a piece of shit.
And that's another thing. It opens you up. Doing this kind of thing, right? Well, one, you're putting yourself out there as a fighter. Two, you're putting yourself out on social medias, like you've been more active, I've seen in your social media, and now you have a podcast. Like it opens you up to just be ripped apart for no reason. For no reason. Yeah, for sure. It's funny, dude. You'll get comments on stuff, and it's just like I'll have people be like, "How do you deal with that?" I'm just like, "Oh, I don't give a fuck." I used to care when I was in college, and I was a little bit more insecure about my wrestling career, but I was like growing on TikTok fast, and I would just post, and then people would like rip me about like my record or this and that, and I'm like, bro, first off, I'm wrestling the highest level of people you could possibly wrestle. Yeah,
like, all right, my bad, didn't beat Dayton Fix, fuck you. Right? Like what
would he do to you? Like, that's what I want to say, but then it doesn't go nowhere. It falls on deaf ears.
When you're at a high level, you're putting yourself out there, and you have to be open to criticism and open to thoughts and opinions, and take them. You can take them and be constructive with them and be like, you know what, I do talk about this too much, or talk about myself too much, or whatever, or just ignore it, right? Kind of like we talked about earlier, right? Should I just let it compile and ignore it and it become a cancer and feed me, or should I hit it with a positive thought, right? So that's kind of the same way I approach life.
Do you have any criticism in this point of your career? Like it's hard to kind of see, but like you're 5-0, you're kind of upward trajectory. I feel like your opponents, you're building on your opponents. Like it's hard. It would be hard for me to see you getting criticism, but I'm not on the other side of that screen. So
I think the most so early, or in my amateur career, I got a lot of hate, or like around regionally, right? And it was just like from other fighters, stuff like that, maybe other coaches, cocky kid, this and that. And I would like feed off of it, right? I was like, oh yeah, you'll see, right? And to be completely honest, I feel like I proved a lot of people just wrong. And then people also met me and were like, oh, he's not a bad kid, he's a cool dude, right? But as you transition to the higher levels of fighting, right now I'm in like the perfect pocket where I'm in the regional scene. I'm getting backed by the regional guys, the regional promotions. Everybody kind of likes me, right? But
he's a nice guy.
In the next stage, it comes to hitting that national level, and then immediately it comes to, let's say I'm on Contender Series, all right? There's going to be a guy that deep dives on my matchup on Contender Series, and they're going to be like, oh, Lucas didn't fight anybody, or something like that, right? Or, oh, he fought this guy that fought this guy, so he sucks, right? And people are very clickbaity in the way they talk now, where it's like, yeah, this kid sucks, or this and that, right? And I could be like, oh, take that personal, or I could just be like, oh, well, he doesn't know who I am. He's doing his job as a podcaster, and just because I understand what podcasting's like.
I can't understand. Like
I hate the idea of people like, one, being like clickbaity, or two, like saying anybody sucks. Like I really don't think most people don't suck that do what they do. Like I think me and you talked about Jake Paul last time.
Yeah.
Right? Look what he's done since.
Right?
Everybody
I
was like, oh, he
said.
sucks. He's this and that. And I was like, he's actually pretty good. And I think, it's just, just the way people are.
I feel like to say someone sucks is just lazy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it's just lazy. Is it like, what don't you like about them? That's a personal opinion. By all means, talk on your podcast about whatever you want. But like to just say someone sucks is just pure laziness, because maybe they're not good in this matchup, or maybe they didn't prepare well. Maybe there's so many things that we are ignoring and just, oh, he sucks. And like I feel like that's where all the issues lies. People are lazy when they talk, and they're not very intentional. And that's why I was so against podcasts, because all the shit I was seeing, I'm like, why did I just waste 20 minutes to watch? Like, this has gone nowhere. Boom.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of podcasting is just like talking just to talking, or just to talk. And yeah, I've listened to podcasts probably since I was 16, like very religiously. I listened to Joe Rogan for a while. I'm actually like, I'm definitely gonna get hate for this one. I like Brendan Schaub a lot. I listen to his opinion a lot. He's an MMA.
Why would you get hate for that?
He's not well liked in the MMA circuit.
Well,
but I've always had this weird thing, and it's not like on purpose, but I've always been like this is a weird word to say, but like attracted to the people that aren't like super well liked. Like I've always like if I said like my music taste, people would be like, oh, MGK, 100% my favorite artist. Russ gets like a lot of hate. I've been a Brendan Schaub fan for a long time. My favorite football player when I was a kid's name was Ted Ginn, and he was not the best football player.
I don't know.
Right? Like I've always been kind of attracted to like, I've always just kind of like done my own thing, and
See, but I can respect that.
Yeah, because I'm my own person, and I can have my own opinions, and I could like things that other people don't like.
And I love having conversations with that.
I think that's one part of the world that like with social media is just like kind of gotten weird, where it's like you're not supposed to have that opinion, right? What, you're not supposed to like that guy, right? Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Right. I like the music. I like the person.
What
I like
music? You keep mentioning this music.
Like MGK. Like huge MGK fan.
I've always liked his songs.
Yeah.
Like, and in every genre, he's got a bop, as the kids would say. That's another one.
I thought a bop meant something way different.
I don't know. Well, it may, but for these circumstances, a hit, or he's always had success in some form in the genres he's decided, all 50 that he's decided to explore.
I respect that a lot.
Dude, it says a lot about the artist.
It says a lot about the person.
Yeah.
Right. You're very able to like transform into different areas. Like that's so impressive. Right. And I think I find a little bit of inspiration in my career doing that. I like to fight and then grapple. I like to, I think I'm well versed as a martial artist, right? I think if you look at art, right, and I'm not huge on the martial artist versus fighter thing, right? I consider myself a fighter, but also like I'm versed in martial arts where, ideally you could stick me into any sport and I would have success. So I think there's a little bit of that like art in it that I like.
What does Chef specialize in? I saw you sparred him.
Luke?
Yeah.
He's come out, did a couple seminars. Real cool dude. Like super cool. He's a Muay Thai fighter for one championship.
I was about to say, I thought he was very niched, and you sparred him, and how did that go?
Well, so it's like play spar. So one thing I love about when Luke comes in and he does his seminars, and huge shout out to that dude, Luke Lessie. He's from Iowa, just small town kid, and he's kind of transformed on the national scene. And he goes and does these seminars, and he spars with damn near everybody that does it afterwards, right? And most people wouldn't do that, right? But because I think he comes from a small town, and he comes from an area where like he got it. You get it how you live, right? He was working out with probably like 0-2 amateur Muay Thai fighters while he was preparing for professional Muay Thai fights and won championship, right? So you can get good work from anybody. But yeah, the first time he came here, he did, I believe, 25 rounds, 25 2 or 3 minute rounds with anybody that wanted it. And the second time he did the same thing. And that's just like so dope.
Yeah, and it's
so
like,
dope.
You said play spar, but it's like you get good looks with that. I call it the flow rolling.
It is play spar, but he can like adjust his levels, right? He would go, like if he's going with a 110-pound girl, it's going to be different than when he goes with me. And then it's going to be different than when he goes with a 200-pound guy. But you talk about being able to adjust mid-fight. Imagine being able to adjust mid-spar, right?
Yeah, and that's impressive. I watched a video of you. There was this other girl. I think she was a stout girl. I watched him spar a variety of people, and he's just so fluid. Like he makes it look easy, and I hate it because I know what it's like to get punched in the face multiple times in sparring. And I'm like, how? Like he's just and it's like when he gets it, it's like it looks like he's not even trying, and he's like, oh, he penetrated. That would be me getting punched in the face.
He's such a genuine guy. He met me one time, or now twice, but he met me one time in like the summer, and then continued to follow my career. He like I fought, I believe, in October, and we had only met once at that point. He like sent me a voice memo, like a 2-minute long voice memo on stuff. Like he was like, "Yo, I saw your fight, blah blah blah," and I'm just like, "Bro, this is so dope." Like
intentionality.
What a cool dude. And like, yeah, like that's one of the coolest things that, you know, at this part in my career, I'm starting to find, like, make friends and like acquaintances with a lot of people that are just like dope. A lot of people that are just like me, that are from fucking Iowa. A lot of people that are like, I grew up in, you're me from a different part of the country, a different part of the world. And, you know, being able to market and work with each other, you know, take what we can from each other. It's just like, it's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Like community connection, networking, as people would call it. But what has MMA brought to you in that sense? You mentioned Chef. Like, what doors has it opened? Because you've been doing this for a few years now, and this is what you do, right? Like, this is your thing. It's not like you're trying it out, you're dabbling. Like, you have very specific goals, and they're not easily attainable goals. Those are things you're working to. Like, so it's going to open doors for you, not just in the MMA world, but in life.
Yeah, it's done just about everything for me. I mean, I'm much more than an MMA fighter as a person, but MMA is the thing that is going to open a lot of the doors for me, right? And it's my job as a fighter to make that, one, profitable when my career is over, and two, you know, just being able to take different avenues, right? I think one thing, like the early 2000s, a lot of those guys, I fight, right? And then they get out of their career and it's like, yo, you don't have any other skills, right? So I'm a coach, right, for kids. I like to say I'm a teacher. I don't consider myself a coach right now. But
that's a good distinction.
Yeah, I think I'm a teacher, right? To youth kids, and some adult classes. I'm getting a lot more, I guess, promoted in the gym. Like, as far as like I'm in charge of a little bit more things than I used to be.
Getting more responsibilities.
Get more responsibilities. Yeah, that's the right word. And you know, in charge of like the inventory and stuff like that. Sponsorships, working as a partner with sponsorships. That's a big one. And you know, just figuring out what I'm good at outside of just the sport, right? Because that's what, you know, I'm only going to do this sport ideally for another 10 years, at the most. And after that, you know, how can I transition what I built in this sport to, you know, continue to carry me the rest of my life, continue to, you know, build a family and do stuff like that. And you know, take the lessons from the sport, take the platform from the sport, and, you know, make the most of it.
That's very important. I've actually been having a lot of more of those conversations regarding, especially men, right? Like, you're a man in this sport. You're not like, this sport is not you. So who are you while you're in the journey of MMA and while you're in the journey of fighting? Because that's going to say a lot about who you are as a fighter and who you are when you're done fighting, whatever that is.
Yeah, and I think this sport it's a temporary. So one thing I've kind of come to peace with is that everything in this world is kind of borrowed, right? Time especially, right? I'm only going to be Lucas, the professional fighter from Pittsburgh, for 2 years, and then there's going to be another kid, right? Or however, like on the regional scene, and then there's going to be another kid, and then I'm only going to be Lucas, the fighter that lives in Pittsburgh that fights for the UFC for a couple years, and then somebody else is going to be there, right? And what can I do in those times, right? And those are obviously like MMA examples, but what can I do in those times to get the most out of it and build relationships that can last longer, build money, partnerships, and stuff like that. And everything is borrowed. And I think people can become too attached to little moments, right? I go out and I win this belt. Oh, I'm the 247 champion, right? Bro, there's going to be another 247 champion in a couple of years, right? It's not yours forever, right? And I think you see that, and I think a lot of people struggle with that on the social media and stuff like that. Hey, I got all this attention, I got these million views, right? And you're talking about kids, and they get famous for a short amount of time, and then it's like, hey, bro, that's not gonna last forever. Like, eventually, those views are gonna go down or whatever. So really, really dial in when the attention's on you, because it peaks and valleys.
Well, it's also good to know, like, it's not yours, right?
It's
like,
no.
Winning is not yours. You win now, and then what? And I feel that's where a lot of people struggle. It's like they win, quote unquote, whatever that is in their MMA journey, life journey, career option. We win, and then there's nothing after that. You're not seeking improvement and growth. So, like, winning is temporary. It's yours, and then it's going to the next person, or you earn it again, right? Like, it's a perfect example. And here we go. My brain went, and I forgot his name, so I'm not even going to mention that example. But you have success in the region. You're winning. Now your next goal is what? Probably go to the bigger steps or bigger shows. You win, and then you go to the bigger show after that, and then you lose. And then it's like, why did I do this? Why I'm not, because you thought that was yours to have.
Yeah. And
then we stop. And that's what we see that with a lot of artists. We see that with a lot of musicians. We see that with fighters. They hit the scene, they're hot, they have a backing, and then something happens and they disappear.
Yeah, and also, like, is it not worth it because you didn't accomplish the goal? Like, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? For me, I do it because I love it. So and I hope somebody would step in and be like, yo, you got to find something else. But if I was 0-5, I would continue to, like, I love the sport, right? I mean, my train recreationally and not take any more fights if I was 0-5, but, like, I love the sport, right? So why are you doing it? Are you doing it for the love of the game, or are you doing it for validation from other people, right? Because if you're doing it for validation from other people, you're not going to get it.
You're going to fail every time.
This game it's going to come and go. You'll get validated by some, you'll be not by others, right? And it's very fickle, right? It's gonna dissipate as soon as it's, like, not going your way, or it's something that, like, isn't perfect, or, like, we talked about other people's opinions, or you miss weight or whatever. People are gonna start to go away, right? Yeah. and that's one thing you got to realize is, like, people keep good people on your side, right? Have good people surrounded by you, because the fans, they ain't riding with you.
The fans are going for what's next and what's hot. I've learned.
Exactly.
And that, as they should. They're looking at this through an outside lens, right? Are you going to earn that fan appreciation every time you step out, fucking dope. That's the goal. The day you don't, you just have to, all right, let me get back into it. Or make the decision to pivot and maybe find something else if you're 0-5.
Yeah.
Not to say, I don't know who's 0-5, so that's not an attack. But your mindset has like, not to say it wasn't good and positive before, but like I see a lot of growth within the 2 years. What has the meaning of success changed for you? And what is that meaning now that you've been in the game, your feet's wet, and you've learned a lot about yourself, about others, about the game? Like the way you're talking about the industry now, it's like you're honed in. What does success mean for you right now?
That's one thing, right? I understand the industry a little bit more. You know, I look at that 23-year-old kid, and he was kind of, you know, I'm only 2 years removed, I'm not that wise, right? But he was very much like set on a goal, right? And trying to get approval from other people and validation from other people. And I don't care about that too much anymore. So the success to me is the same as it was when I said it on the podcast 2 years ago. The goal is to try to become the best in the world and take the people I love with me, right? And that will always be the goal. What will always be the goal is to make everybody that is around me feel like they are a part of my success. And I hope that they do the same with me, with their success, right? Because like you said, everything's temporary. And I think that, you know, if you can bring more people with you, right? Whether it be, you know, I get a UFC fight and hey, let's bring, you know, a couple of these amateur fighters with me so that they can see what it's like, so they can have something to strive for, you know, or whatever, right? I think that to me, what matters most is community. And I think that's, you know, most people, but it's community, family, and stuff like that. And it's not the validation of people I don't know. That's for sure.
I think you would agree it's important to surround yourself with good people. You've mentioned that.
Yeah.
Who are some of the people in your circle that's kind of fueled this mindset and this growth?
You know, obviously my parents. I think as you get older, you realize like your parents become more humanized, right? You start to see the flaws they have and love them for like who they've become. Like I was talking to somebody and I was like, dude, I'm so proud of my parents because they've become grandparents recently.
Oh,
and
congrats.
both my brothers have had kids recently, and then my other brother, Cam, has also had a kid, and you know, they watch her daughter a lot. And just to be able to see my parents like grow and take on this new challenge and absolutely love what they're doing is like that. It's amazing to me, right? And I've learned so much from them. And they're always people that, you know, they're exactly what I hope to be as a parent, right? To be able to, you know, give back at all times, be selfless, and just absolutely, they're the two best people I know. But aside from that, Mike, Warren, Will, those guys pour into me constantly. Don't ask for anything, right? It's just constantly trying to help me improve my craft, trying to make sure I'm set up the right way. I'm not being an idiot with my money. I'm, you know, doing the right things. And, you know, just they care about me as a person first, and then as an athlete second. And, you know, that's really, really important. And then you look at people like my brothers and my friends. You know, I've watched, like I said, my brothers become parents, right? That's cool. That's really dope, right? I have my two blood brothers, Wyatt and Dustin, and, you know, they had their own flaws, and I watched them do their 20s, and then they turn 30 and they're having their kids. And I'm like, wow, dude, look how much you've changed. Like, this is great. And then Cam Jenkins, who's, you know, basically adopted in my family, is somebody that, like, you know, I'm watching him do the same thing, and just growing. And, you know, that's my circle, that's my family. And then obviously all the people at the gym, all my training partners. Like, you know, it's just about about bringing good people with you, surrounding yourself with the right people, because you're a product of the people you're around the most. And I surround myself with good people.
And I've asked you this in post-fight interviews, but I don't think I've ever asked you in the long form. Actually, I didn't, because I never went to one of your pro fights. I wasn't doing post-fights yet. Well, I went to them, but we didn't speak since then. What legacy do you hope to leave behind after MMA is done? You've kind of touched on it. You want, but how do you want to be remembered when you're done stepping into that cage?
First and foremost, I want to be remembered as a good guy, right? I want to be somebody that gave back to people, as I just said, and somebody that is selfless. Second, I want to be known as a fucking competitor. I want people to know when I'm in a cage, I'm a guy to watch, right? If you're the fans, this kid's an animal. He's gonna go out, he's gonna try to win at all times. I want the people I'm fighting to fear me. I want the fans to enjoy it. I want my coaches to know I'm gonna go out on my shield at all times. And then third, I want to be the best fighter that's ever came out of Pittsburgh. That's a goal for me right now. I want to be the best fighter that's ever come from Pittsburgh. I want to make it to the highest levels of the UFC. I want to be a world champion, and just continue to represent this town and all the people that pour into me.
Big goals, man. But you wouldn't be the guy sitting across from me if you didn't have them, right?
Yeah.
Gives you some, and you ain't big. If you miss, you're still in a good spot.
Yeah, bro.
I've always been a proponent of that, man.
I agree.
So what changed? You're in the game, right? And I like to talk about the fighter's perspective, get the fighter's perspective regarding the MMA scene in general, both locally and overall. How do you see the sport changing? I've, in the 2 years I've been doing this, I've seen it evolve even locally. The fight promotion has grown. They got their own arena. A lot more fighters are getting looks. A lot of more local fighters are getting shows abroad. It's growing. How do you see the MMA scene here booming? First, I guess, here in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh, I love it, man. I think Pittsburgh's a unique place where everybody's kind of collaborative and very inviting. So I see a lot of success. I think we're at this point in Pittsburgh where we're about to have a lot of people make it out, right? Make it to the big shows. I think me, Justin, Carly, Ferdas, all of us are going to be, in my opinion, in the UFC within the next year and a half. And then there's going to be another wave after that. So we're in a really good spot, right? It's kind of a little good point, right? We talk about these times, right? They're not going to last forever. But we're in a really, really high zone right now. So that's exciting. And then MMA as a whole, I think it's starting to, make its way into the mainstream. I think there's always going to be kind of a niche of people that are kind of more into MMA type stuff. And I think we're starting to get more people to kind of transition into it. I think it being on ESPN for a while, I think that was really big. I think, you talk about fighting at the White House, shit like that.
Is that even gonna happen? Because I'm seeing two sides of
it's definitely gonna happen,
dude. That'd be sick.
It's definitely not a rumor. He already I'm pretty sure it's they're booking the card in February. They got it planned out. I saw mock-ups and stuff, but little things like that, right? That's just gonna get you more and more into the mainstream. And I think in the world we live in now, where everything's short-term content, or short-form content rather, and everything's just boom. What sport is better for short-form content than watching somebody get socked in the face and knocked out? There's nothing, right? So I think the MMA has a really, really high ceiling. It just is about the right people being in charge, and business being done the correct way. And I really think MMA can make it really far in not only this country but in the world, as far as fans and stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a good time.
It's become more accessible too. I mean, UFC partnering with, I forget who they did, but now it's on a streaming service. So now you get to see, not only that, social media, people are knowing and understanding fighters better because the younger generation of fighters are more social. They're putting themselves out there. They're branding themselves. You know, back in the old days, two dudes fought and you followed him based on his performance in this cage and then his performance in the next cage. Like now they're on social media. People are talking. People are getting on podcasts. People are talking about themselves. I call it storytelling, but because that's the proper terminology. But people are being more open and vulnerable with what they're going with personally, and it's creating that like connection with fans. So now you don't just have fans who follow you for fighting. They're like, I really like this dude, or I really hate him. I hope he loses. Like,
it's
like a buy-in for fans.
Yeah, and ideally you're on both sides of that.
I think I think what wrestling calls a heel, professional wrestling. I think you're gonna be the heel in the big scenes.
I've always been, throughout my life, and damn sure during my MMA career, I've always been if you love me, you love me. If you hate me, you hate me kind of guy. And that's the perfect. I don't do it on purpose. I don't do anything to like get anything out of it. I'm just me, right? And I'll continue to be me. And I know the further I make it into my career, that's another thing is like with the LFA fight, I knew that stage was made for me. Like I knew I was gonna have my best performance when the lights were bigger, right? I remember missing weight, and then they were like, "Dude, you got to do this interview with LFA, like pre-fight show." And the way I was able to like flip my switch and just be a professional and conduct an interview, make them laugh, and do all that, like I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make it in this sport. Like I know it." And then go out and have a good performance. I like it. Those parts of it are just like things I know are going to happen. So I think, you know, the further I make it, I'm probably going to have a lot of people that dislike me. And I think I'm going to have a lot of people love me too, which is, you know, it's cool. And like I said, you can't get attached to that shit.
What do they say? All press is good press? All
press is good press. Yeah.
And I think it's as long as you remain authentic, which you're pretty straightforward dude. I think that's what's important. We see a lot of these fighters who kind of don't
lose themselves.
Yeah, they lose themselves in the lights and the notoriety, the fame, and then when you see that happen, you see performance start to kind of drop. Yeah. You know, they correlate. I don't know how. I don't know the science behind it, but if you're not firm in yourself, your fucking performance blows. Man, we see it with the NFL, basketball. I don't understand it, but just remain true, I guess. That's my advice.
That's a good rule of thumb for anything you do.
Now, this is the part of the show that I like to. We've talked about a lot of things. I think people have kind of learned you a little more. What if you can leave people? People are listening to this episode. It's over. It's done. They're back to their normal lives. What's one message you hope people take from listening to you today?
Pour everything into everything you do, right? Your relationships with people, first and foremost, whatever your job is, whoever you're around, interactions with strangers, pour everything into everything you do, because I just don't want to be somebody that half-asses anything, right? If I meet a stranger, I want to give them my most authentic self, right? Sometimes that might not be the best version of me, but I want to, you know, be somebody that is just known for just wearing their heart on their sleeve. And I think everybody should be like that, right? Just wear your heart on your sleeve, and just continue to live life, and, you know, be happy, and try to push through all the hard shit that comes your way, and keep a smile on your face.
Yeah. Said from Seibert himself with the smile logo. I love it. Be happy. Shout out to Danny Herrera, because he always says this, and it's do one thing how you do everything.
Yeah, I look at that, right? I think do one thing how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And just try to, like, I was 3 minutes late today, and I was beating myself up about it. Like, I just, like, I want to be an accountable person, right? And like, that's just that how you do anything is how you do everything. And just wear your heart on your sleeve, and and push through all the hard shit, man. Because there's always sunshine at the end of it.
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important because like how you approach MMA, that's how you should be approaching your family, your friends, your relationships, the work you do, the kids class, how you approach whatever job you do. That's your passion. That's how you should be approaching everything. Like what grinds my gears is when someone's like, I'm all about this, and then they shit on everything else. It's like that speaks volumes on who you are as a person. Like, yeah. But that's my 2 cents that no one asked for. This next fight, where can people buy tickets? So like, I guess we got to plug that in, right? We're talking here today because that's a big deal.
Come watch me fight. I'm telling you, if you watch me fight in person, you will be a fan of me. You will want to watch every fight I've had. I'm an exciting fighter. I wear my heart on my sleeve when I fight. I'm going to be fighting November 8th for 247 for the bantamweight title against a really tough opponent, 7-5 guy, black belt. And I'm very, very excited to go on and perform one more time for the city. This is Lucas's last dance, right? Last dance in the city. And if you want to see me fight in person before I'm in the UFC, before I'm in LFA, wherever, this is your chance. I'm gonna have tickets available at all stout locations soon. I'm gonna be working with Yinzer Mob to promote it at their tailgates. Hopefully hopping on Christian Kuntz's podcast. I'm gonna be promoting the shit out of it because I want as many people there as possible to witness it and become fans and say they were there when I won my title in Pittsburgh when I continue on the rest of my career.
Talk about clickbait. That's how you need to push it. Lucas's last dance.
It is my last dance.
Dude, I like that. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. Where can people follow you online if they want to, follow this, find tickets, get the promotion for it? Where can people follow you online?
My Instagram is Lucas Siebert. That's spelled SUCASLEIBERT. A little play on me being dyslexic. And I believe that's all my social media handles: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. And follow the Fight Life Unfiltered podcast on Spotify and YouTube. And yeah, man, come down to the gym, train, meet me in person. I'm teaching more classes, so that would be really dope. People, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're interested in MMA in some capacity. We have a ton of locations. People more qualified than me teach, and then you could also learn from me as well. So try to come down to some of those.
I'm gonna start tagging me, be like, hey, $20 to spar with Lucas. see how many people bite. Yeah. He gets most of the proceeds, but the finder's fee.
That's crazy.
No kidding. Well, bro, I appreciate you for jumping on. Follow Lucas online. Make sure you're there for his next fight. I will be doing the post-fight interviews. Can't wait for the conversation we have after that. Follow the Relentless Project online. I believe all the handles are Relentless PRJCT. In doing so, you get to hear more cool stories from cool people like this. This is another one with Lucas Siebert, and we're out. Later.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Anytime.